So the Washington Commanders recently wrapped up rookie mini camps, at least the first installment, and we got some free agent jersey numbers alongside some schedule leaks. I had to go out and get my guy Grant from Full Command to cover all this tonight. It's your man Juan Gotti. Let's talk about it.
Shout out to Juan Gotti Talkin Sports. You know what it is.
Shout out Juan Gotti Talkin Sports.
The way that we live is not for everybody.
I always say it's not how they line up, it's how they wind up.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders live stream, and in today's live stream, I have a very special guest to my right, my guy Grant from Full Command. How you doing, bro?
I was doing good until I was reminded of how elite of an intro you have. My intro is a little 6-second clip. I genuinely think I have one of the worst intros in the entire community. I mean, I like it because it's kind of a joke. There's this ongoing debate. It's got like an electronic voice. Nobody knows what the lady's actually saying. So yeah, every time I see someone else with a good intro, I'm like, damn, I got to make one myself. But I'm too lazy. But overall, I'm doing really good. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, look, I totally understand where you're coming from when it comes with the intros, because you go through phases of things that you feel like look good. Like, to me, I don't even know if my intro looks the best, but people love the song that come with it. You know what I mean? So I never switch it up. But your intro is good, though, because you in and out. You know how these attention spans is nowadays. Nobody want to see a 30-second intro, so your intro is perfect.
You know what's funny though? Every time I watch the intro, when it gets to Joe Witt Jr., I'm waiting for him to say like "shout out to Juan Gotti," and then he never says it. I don't know why. I just forget every time I watch him late. Is he really about to say it? And then he goes somewhere else. But, yeah.
I'm glad that you kind of get the sense of humor of it, because people be so upset. They're like, "Juan, why do you still have Joe Witt Jr. in your intro?" I'm like, do you not see the psych part? Then it transitions to the wrong. Maybe that's the one tweak I'm gonna just change, because people get so furious. Like, why do you still have Joe Witt Jr. in the intro? I'm like, are you not putting two and two together? But nevertheless, I appreciate you for stopping by tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and give you your flowers, bro. First of all, as I always do with any guest, man, you're killing it right now, bro. When I discovered your channel, I'm gonna just say how it is, how it normally is, literally how YouTube is. You randomly just popped up one time. You know what I mean? I'm like, let me check this out. And ever since then, I've been tapped in, subscribed. Of course, shout out to my guy Tone for allowing, he brought us together for the very first time. So, of course, shout out to my guy Tone for that. Make sure you guys check him out, bro. But just talk a little bit about your journey, how you started, because you're still relatively new in the community, but you were killing it. How'd you get started with this?
I appreciate it, man. And yeah, definitely for sure. Shout out to Tone, PSN Commanders Network. Like Juan said, first time we connected, Tone was actually the first one to reach out to me in the entire community. And he's actually introduced me to a lot of people, yourself included. So definitely shout out PSN Commanders Network. How did I get started here on the channel? It's funny. So I'm someone who in every phase of life, like it doesn't matter what it is, when I commit to something, I'm all in. So like when I was in high school, when I was in college, I was playing sports, I was trying to get recruited. It was that. In like early elementary, middle school, I was in advanced math programs and things like that because I was all about school. And that's just kind of evolved over the course of my life to whatever it may be. So last summer, I was sitting here, I work from home, and I was inspired by a soccer YouTube channel. I'm not even gonna lie. Like I was not big in the Commanders community. I mean, as in I wasn't really aware of a lot of what was out there. I knew about like Take Command and the team podcast stuff, but not like the creator community. But I was inspired by a soccer podcast, and all that was happening was this guy was sitting in his room talking about the team that he supported. And I looked around, I was like, man, I can do that. Like I've got nothing but free time here. I've got a microphone. I might as well give it a shot. So it started me just sitting down, pressing record. I went back last week and I watched my old videos, and they were pretty awful. So I don't know why people supported me in the first place, but it's cool to look back, see the improvement that's been made. And I'm just trying to get better every day because people like yourself, a lot of the other people out there, like y'all are still running laps around me, so I'm trying to catch up.
Hey man, stop it, man. Don't even say that, because I'm gonna give you again your flowers. Honestly, like, you're starting at the perfect time, or you have started at the perfect time. Here's why I tell you this, Grant. Grant, I started in 2019 when we were horrible. When we had Dwayne Haskins, may God rest his soul, we were 3-13, firing Jay Gruden. Nobody cared about then Washington Redskins news. But I was just like you. Well, first of all, I always did YouTube stuff, but I never did like Commander stuff until I found Ed Oliver. But I was like you. I didn't know there was a community of fans that made content, because back during those times it really wasn't. Now it's a lot of people doing it, but back during those times, only person I ever seen talking about the Redskins was Ed Oliver. And Ed Oliver inspired me, and anytime I get to talking about this, I always give him his flowers, because without him, I probably wouldn't even have started my channel. So shout out to Ed for that. But yeah, just kind of like you, just curious, like, bro, we love this team. I'm gonna just go ahead and say something. Like, my first video, like you again, it's cringy. It's just weird. I was laying on the floor. I was talking about, I think, Kareem Hunt coming here, or various guys like just had tore his ACL. Like, it was just something crazy. But again, we all start from somewhere. Now look at you now, shining, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's a lot of fun. It genuinely is. Like, my favorite part of it was, I mean, even when I started recording videos, it took me I started last summer. It took me probably like 6 months to actually discover the community like we were talking about. And then when that kind of happened, it just happened super quick. And I got exposed to how many different people are actually out there. And it's been a lot of fun meeting a lot of people. Like, this is my 4th collab over the last 7 days or so. And again, when I started this channel, I couldn't have named you 4 creators in the community. And I will say, you said I'm starting at the perfect time. I'm not going to lie. There's probably some truth in that, but I do feel a little bit guilty. I feel like I haven't earned my stripes yet, because like yourself, like Josh Taylor, Rio, like Ed, like all Louis T, like people have been grinding for a long time now. And if I didn't say your name, like obviously I can't name everybody, but people have been grinding for a long time. So I feel guilty that I'm like just hopping on now. It's like you guys made it hot and then I just jumped on. So I still got to put in my hours.
Hey, look, that's just the circle of life, though. You know what I mean? You catch your spark at the right time, regardless of how much, and you found your niche and you're sticking, bro. And again, like I said, I will say the reason I also say perfect time is because just social media is advanced, and we'll get to the main thing. But of course, I always gotta, anytime I come across great content creators and they're willing to come on the show, I just gotta shower them with love. That's just who I am. So, but like, just social media in 2019, it's crazy, Grant. That's so long ago now, if you really think about it. But there wasn't like no TikTok, there wasn't like all this short form content now, but it's so advanced to where it's so many outlets. And I'm just gonna say what it is. We actually have attractable pieces. We didn't have a Jaden Daniels in 2019. We didn't have these cool, sick jerseys. It was Dan Snyder tarnishing this organization, and nobody cared about us. But now we're one of the markets that people are tapped into. So, man, you're killing it. And keep up the great work. And we're gonna get into the show now. But shout out to Jackson. Says, can't believe it's been 6 months already. Good evening and HTT. I almost say HTTR since we're talking about the Washington Redskins. But shout out to you, Jackson. But I definitely wanted to bring you on specifically. So I'll tell you, the original plan, this was before Minicamp when I was thinking about it. I was like, I want to go through the coaching staff, specifically with you, because I love how you break down each coaching guy that we have now at the position, offense coordinator, defense coordinator. I was like, I specifically want to talk to you about that, but we could probably double back doing that sometime, when all this dies down, of course. But that was originally going to be the show. But now, since we have rookie minis, and I really wanted to talk to you about this because you had a tweet that blew up, and I loved it because I was all on board about Joshua Joseph since day one. So many people were upset about the pick. Oh, Juan, we already got so many pass rushers in free agency. I said, guys, relax. Because I think for casual fans, like people that don't make content, because not everyone makes content. Not everyone follows this team around the horn like we do. Some people just watch on Sundays, but they don't understand the futuristic things when it comes to moves like that. They may not know that Odafe Owe was the only pass rusher that was here for multiple years up until we drafted Joshua Joseph. Everyone else was on a 1-year deal or entering the final year of their contract as a pass rusher. So on paper right now, we look like we were stacked, but what about next year? Kayvon Chaison's on a 1-year deal. Dietrich Wise is back on a 1-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong is entering the final year of his contract. Charles Miller, who only signed a 1-year deal. Javonte Jean-Baptiste might even make the team. So this was to me, that was a necessary move. And of course, we're going to double back to Sonny and all those, but I want to start there because you had a tweet that went viral, and I was like, yes, I finally somebody else that likes Joshua Joseph as much as I do.
Yeah, so I'll go back to something you said real quick, which is the casual fans, and I don't say casual fans to be offensive by any stretch. Exactly. If you watch games every Sunday, if you love this team your whole life, casual is probably not the right word, but I just mean that people that it's basically our jobs to look at this team and analyze them every single day. And the majority of fans aren't doing that. So don't take any offense. We can replace casual with whatever term you want. But I mean, I was one of those fans, like when I was at college, again, with me being this person who jumps in very specifically to one thing, whatever that one thing might be. When I was in college, I wasn't really paying that much attention to sports. Like if there was an NBA game on after class, okay, sure. But when the Commanders signed Carson Wentz, I'll be straightforward right now. I supported that because I was like, this guy had 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He must be a good quarterback. Again, that was just me box score watching, not paying attention to this game. So I understand how people can have opinions that differ so strongly from the ones that we have. And I get you. Again, feel free to call me a casual fan because at that time I was, but it's changed now and I can look back and say, I know where I went wrong. So with that mindset, a lot of what you were saying, it definitely holds water. Like when we talk about this edge rusher room, okay, the Commanders signed a bunch of people in the front 7. Odafe Owe, the $100 million man, and getting Kayvon Chase on it. Well, Kayvon Chaisson is on a 1-year deal. Dorrance Armstrong is on the final year of his deal, coming off of a torn ACL. And oh, by the way, Dorrance was playing at an excellent high level when he got injured last year. Doesn't mean he's even starting this year, because when you look at the competition that they've brought in, he might just be unnecessary at this point. Unnecessary in the starting lineup. He'll get on the field at certain points. But Joshua Josephs offers very interesting upside to the Commanders because there was another tweet that I put out right after the draft happened, didn't go viral. But Joshua Josephs was somebody who scouts that talked about him, draft analysts talked about him as when this guy's playing his best football, he's a 1st or 2nd round pick. The problem is he doesn't get to that level very consistently. And I'd heard he'd had maybe some off-field issues, not even talking about legal stuff, but maybe does he love the game of football? I have no idea. I'm not saying that because I would never say that without concrete evidence or all the top reporters saying that. That's not what they're saying. That's just what I had heard. And when I'm trying to think about, okay, how did he actually fall to the 5th round? But the upside is obviously there. And in this clip that you're talking about, we think of Joshua Josephs as a pass rusher. I think 85% of the plays that he was on the field for in college, he was rushing the quarterback. But that 15% where he was dropping into coverage, I didn't expect it to look that good. Having seen what we saw at training camp or minicamp, and granted, it was only one clip. It was 13 seconds long. I went on a rant about this clip earlier, so I know it was 13 seconds long. But he looked really fluid and good dropping back into coverage. And if he has that element to his game, I remember Logan Paulson said that his equivalent coming from the Minnesota defense would be Andrew Van Ginkel, who I think is arguably the most underrated player in the entire NFL, the most underrated defender in the NFL, I should say. So if Joshua Josephs does live up to that comparison, and he's the Commanders' Andrew Van Ginkel, I mean, this is an excellent player. We're talking about a borderline Pro Bowl player that they found in round 5.
I mean, when you think about it like that in the aspect of Andrew Van Ginkel, just from the simple fact of him terrorizing us, I mean, when it comes to his ability to rush the passer, or he just seems to always be around the football and catching interceptions, and that's what Andrew Van Ginkel is. He's just a chess piece for me. How I look at him when I watch the Minnesota Vikings defense, you can use him in so many different ways. And like you said, when you think about Josh Joseph, especially when you look at the Tennessee, like his highlights film, whatever you want to have, he simply just rushing the passer. But when you look at this 13-second clip, and Grant, I don't care. Don't let them tell you to downplay a 13-second clip. Your analyst is spot on here, because again, this is not what you drafted him to be. You didn't draft him to be able to bluff, drop back into coverage, because I guarantee you he does this in a game one time, he's going to get an interception or two, because a quarterback isn't going to expect Joshua Joseph to bluff and drop back into coverage and play his little zone. So your analyst right there is spot on. And I really like the pick. Before you even brought this to our attention here, I really like the pick because when he got to the quarterback, he arrived violently. And that was something that I felt like has been missing for this defense for years now. Yeah, we're content with just getting a sack. We're content with getting a pass deflection. You know what I mean? Making a tackle for loss. But when you look at other teams, like, I don't know, you could throw out a great defense from any year that you want to think of. I'm more than certain that they are at the top of the league when it comes to forcing turnovers, something that we have not done over the course of time now. And when you look at adding a rookie like Joshua Joseph, if he can put it all together, because the talent isn't the question. You know what I mean? It's all the other things that you mentioned. But when he's getting to the quarterback, he's quick and he's punishing the quarterback and he's getting after the football. I mean, there was one play where he chased down the quarterback. I think it was against Georgia or maybe Alabama. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head.
Georgia, I know the play.
Yeah, he chased down the quarterback and he absolutely just devoured him. And then the ball went into the air and he got an interception. His teammate got an interception. So, like, he has what it takes to be really good. I'm not gonna lie to you, Grant. I thought he was gonna be a developmental piece for this season, considering the fact of all of the players that we had ahead of him. But word on the street is he may actually see some playing time this year. What you think about that?
So I would not set those expectations, and this is actually totally different scenario, but this is how I feel about Antonio Williams, because everybody's calling him the next Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, yes, the ceiling is there. The role makes sense in the context of the offense and with Joseph's with the defense. Let's not make that the expectation, because that's a high standard to hit, and they weren't drafted to do that immediately. With that being said, looking at Joseph's here in this clip, I mean, we've watched it a bunch of times by now, but he genuinely does look fluid. Like, he looks Frankie Louvu level, if not more comfortable dropping back into coverage. And Frankie Louvu's not a coverage specialist, but like, he's done it for the last 2 years. So if Joseph's is at least at that level, then it's someone who's capable of dropping back. The thing that's really interesting about what the Vikings did with their defense, and I'm a numbers guy, so I'm going to throw some numbers out here, but the Vikings blitzed on 46% of plays last year. The second highest team in the NFL was 36%. So they were blitzing like a madhouse. And a big reason why is they brought everybody down to the line of scrimmage, and literally everyone could blitz. So if you think about where the Commanders have 8 guys in the box, you have your front 7, and you have, let's say, Mike Sainer still has creeped in there, or Nick Cross, either one of them. Everyone on the defensive line obviously can rush the quarterback. Sonny Styles, Leo Chanel, Frankie Louvu, Caleb Chason, Joshua Joseph, Sonny Styles, Jordan McGee, all of your linebackers can blitz the quarterback. And then you have Sainer still who can blitz off the edge, or you have Cross who can blitz as well. So it's really difficult for defenses to account for all of those pieces in front of them, because if they max protect, then, I mean, you're limiting the amount of players that you're even sending out on a route in the first place. And the defense is probably going to have more guys dropping back into coverage than you have receivers running routes. So when I look at Joshua Joseph's, again, I like the term chess piece, which you mentioned. It's just part of keeping defenses off balance. I think his biggest impact, if he is going to make one in year one, will be on third downs in those strong pressure looks, like those exotic pressure packages. And then the quarterback is just playing a guessing game of, okay, well, I'm looking at 8 guys who are all on the line of scrimmage. Who's actually blitzing and who's actually dropping? That's where Josh Josephs is going to be most valuable in year one to me. And then with Chason, with Armstrong being on the last years of their deals, with Wise and Omenahu being on 1 years, if they think Josephs is playing at a high enough level, then that makes it so that you don't have to bring one of those guys back.
Yeah, I mean, and you hit it right on the head with that last statement because I was big on, hey, we got Caleb Chase on for a 1-year prove it deal. Man, it'll be great. And I'm not saying it still wouldn't because it definitely would for me at least. Like, imagine if we're able to have 2 bookend pass rushers for the next 3-4 years and Caleb Chase is able to cash in because that's how I was looking at this 1-year, deal for him. Because as you look at his stats and when you watch the games, he's ascending, just like Odafe Owe. The statistics and the stats may not be there when you look at their profile right now, but if you actually turn on these games, they're coming off of one of their better seasons as to why Odafe Owe got paid and Caleb Chase although he signed here for a 1-year deal, there were other teams, if you look at his documentary, that had interest in him and was willing to offer him a multi-year deal. So when you talk about the possibility of not having to bring one of those guys back, that's exactly when you insert Joshua Joseph. Because for me, realistically, I say, look, at the end of the day, when you start drafting guys in the 5th round, those are your developmental guys. Those are your guys where you can take shots. You know what I mean? I'm not too sure about this guy, but I'm willing to take a chance on this draft pick. Don't know how it's going to pan out, but at the end of the day, it is a 5th round pick. It's a 6th round pick. It's a 7th round pick. And when it comes to guys like Joseph, for me, it's like, okay, if he doesn't pan out to what they're saying he could potentially be, because it's not just us, Grant, that believes this. It's actual analysts and team sources that believe if he can put it all together, he genuinely can turn into a beast. And again, the tape does not lie when you look at his Tennessee film. But for me, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, if he doesn't work out, he's a Javonte James Baptiste replacement. Grant, when's the last time we seen JJB, man? Like, ever since we drafted him, I've been waiting for him to do something, and he's always hurt, and like he's not making a play. So for me, I'm comfortable with this pick regardless if he even pans out.
Yeah, I'm gonna DM you. I'm gonna DM you a tweet if you wouldn't mind pulling it up on the screen.
I got you.
Don't dox yourself. Don't show your DMs on stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, JJB's been unlucky with injuries. He really has. So I mean, I feel bad for the guy to a certain degree, but at the same time, like it's sad, but that's also not the team's responsibility. You got to get out there. You got to produce. They drafted you. Yes, it was the 7th round, but Bill was a starter, and he was a 7th round draft pick last year. So the opportunity was there. It sucks that injuries held him back. He's not going to make this team in my eyes. There's just too many bodies right now. And the fact that he hasn't shown anything, and he's also on the final year of his rookie deal because he's a 7th round draft pick, which means if they bring him back, it would have to be most likely on a 1-year deal. And at that point, like, they have other options lined up for them. Joseph's obviously being an example of that. So I think that they will definitely they'll be moving on to Joseph's. But if you do bring this tweet up, because I know that you said that the Joseph's numbers weren't outstanding, and you're right, they weren't. But this kind of goes back to what we were speaking about earlier, like the difference between people who watch the games and then who do it for a living. If you go to Pro Football Focus and getting into some of my nerdier stats, which I talked about, but Josh Joseph's actually had some really impressive advanced numbers. If you look at his pressure rate on true passing sets, which essentially means no screens and no RPOs, like you're dropping back, you're throwing the ball. He was 11th in the country among edge rushers in pressure rates. So like on fair, true drop back passes, he had the 11th highest draft rate, pressure rate in the entire draft. I mean, look at these, like David Bailey is 5th. R. Mason Thomas is a spot ahead of him. Malachi Lawrence, who the Cowboys drafted in the 1st round, is actually below him. So again, going back to the 1st round buzz that was there with this player, like, yes, looking at his 4 sacks might not look so amazing, but when you actually watch him play and you jump into some of the advanced numbers, this is what you find. He's a productive player who has a lot to grow into.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the stats not showing at all, that's why it's important to kind of break down the film and watch the film, because again, for me, a big thing that you mentioned that he could bring to this table year one is not only been a situational pass rusher on key downs like 3rd downs and obvious passing situations, but for me, the vibe I get from him, his immediate impact can be setting up his teammates, right? Like, he may not necessarily be the one that gets the sack, but he can be the reason for, let's say, a Frankie Louvu being able to come in scot-free and getting the sack. You know what I mean? So that is a very, very great point that you brought up here. Did you want to break down this draft thing too, right?
Oh, the RAS?
Yeah.
I mean, AP loves him in RAS. The 8.56, I mean, it's in green because it's a good number, but you got to keep in mind that the guys with yellow and red numbers, they don't usually get drafted. So an 8.5 isn't like anything crazy. But the thing that stands out for him as far as his physical profile is his arm length. And again, guys who you just watch a few games a year, you're not really going to know what this means. But football is won and lost at the point of attack, the line of scrimmage, because I think Dan Quinn said it. The game of football is basically a tug of war, and it's two people pulling a rope back and forth. And if you win the offensive line, you win that push. Well, if we break that down into its most basic element, winning the push, if you have long arms, you're touching the other player first. So you're getting that like first strike. And again, it sounds silly, but you see him set things up. JP Finley even wrote about in his Substack article he put out this morning, I believe. He said Joseph's had a really good rep where he bent around the tackle, bent the corner, and got to what would have been a sack on the quarterback if they were playing contact. And he said it was all because he used his arms. Like he basically boxed the tackle out like they were playing basketball and they're going up for a rebound, and he just scooted right around him. So that's one of the big advantages of his physical profile.
Look, I'm over here trying to pull up the next guy. Give me 1 second. I was trying to pull up at least my favorite draft pick. I know you said that you wanted to talk about and calm everyone down for comparing him to Amon-Ra. You know what I mean? Look, I get it. Look, I wasn't one that was comparing him to Amon-Ra. People, look, and I'm not saying that you have to agree with me because you probably don't. I'm not saying the chat has to agree with me because at the end of the day, we view these players differently, especially when they're first coming out. Like your initial thought may not be what he eventually turns into. But I said coming out when I first seen him, I said he gives me Jahan Dotson vibes. And people immediately, they forgot Jahan Dotson was a beast at Penn State. They forgot he was a first-round draft pick for a second and immediately started saying, Juan, you're tripping, because of how it ended here in Washington. They don't remember. They're not thinking about that rookie season, Jahan Dotson, when everyone was going crazy thinking, oh, we really got us one. Not the Jahan Dotson that jumped over two people in the Giants game and came down with the reception. So for me, I was like, I'm not telling you he's going to end up being Jahan Dotson, because if that's the case, that sucks because he didn't pan out. I'm just talking about the kind of style of play that they use. They're both quick, small in stature, being able to be, versatile in the rounds and direct snaps and screens. Because he's the only guy, at least that I can remember in recent memory, that can take a screen 50, 60 yards, not named Terry McLaurin, actually have true yak ability. I mean, of course, we wanted that to be Deebo Samuel, you know what I mean? But that's 2019 Deebo Samuel, not what we had last year. So that's what my take on Antonio Williams was coming out of the draft when we first got him. And people were just upset with that take. And I'm like, wow, okay, look, because people were comparing him to Santana Moss. And as you mentioned, immediately comparing him to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I'll say this, though. I will say this. I wasn't heavy on comparing him to Amon-Ra. But once he put on that 14 and the visor, I said, oh, okay, I can see why people are saying it now. Strictly off the looks, though.
So if I were to compare him, I made a whole video about this. I really hate doing this because I'm a big believer in setting fair expectations. I got into this. Josh Connolly was a good example of this for me last year, because he was if I'm not mistaken, he was the fourth tackle. He was the third or the fourth tackle taken in the draft. Every single evaluator said play strength needs to get better. He's not strong enough right now. He was a young kid. He was 21. I think he was 21 the entire rookie season. Had only played 2 years of college ball, like needed experience, needed to add size, needed to add some bulk to his frame. And then they went out there and they played games. And he's facing Max Crosby, and he's facing Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. He's facing Micah Parsons, and the whole fan base decides that Josh Connolly is a bust. And I'm like, guys, you cannot compare rookies to your ideal outcome for a 10-year veteran. You have to compare them to realistic expectations. So with the Amon-Ra thing, this is where it gets tricky for me, because I try to be a man of my word. I try to be consistent and own up when I'm wrong to things as well. Unfortunately, I think the best player comparison for Antonio Williams is probably Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I want to distinguish that because I'm not saying you should hold him to Amon-Ra standards. But when we're talking about what is he good at, how are they going to use him? What are some of the unique qualities of his game? He shares those with Amon-Ra. Versatility, really productive in the slot, really productive as the Z. A guy who fell a bit in the draft. Williams was looked at as the best receiver. He was going to be wide receiver 1 in this class, and then he gets injured, and Clemson's terrible, and his draft stock plummets. He goes in the 3rd round. Amon-Ra went in the 4th. Really, really physical run blockers, both of them, despite being a little bit undersized. Like not small, but not big. That's how I've been describing Antonio Williams. 5'11 and a half, 187 pounds. He's not small. He's just not big. If I were to compare him to like another player just to detract from the Amon-Ra stuff, I would say a modern age Stephon Diggs, not the Diggs that was getting 1,500 yards. But the reason that I say Diggs is because Diggs wins quickly. He wins early in his routes, and he presents himself to the quarterback. And that's what I think Commanders fans are going to learn about Antonio Williams is, yes, he's not 6'3" and runs a 4.2, so he's not going to win jump balls 50 yards down the field. But hitting one of those every 2 games versus catching 3 3rd and 7 passes for 8 yards, like the second one of those is more valuable. Catching those 3 3rd down passes to get a first down, that's more valuable than once every other game, every 3 games coming up with a 40-yard explosive play. So if I had to take it off of Amon-Ra, I would go with Diggs. But I think the Amon-Ra comparison, as far as the player styles, I think it's accurate.
Man, this is why I feel like we're there. We're there because that is a big reason why I want Stephon Diggs in the first place. A lot of people are too focused on his off the field antics. I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, do what you want off the field. I could care less. Long as you're showing up in between them lines and you're producing still, like you mentioned. Is he prime Stephon Diggs? No, I'm talking about Steph and potentially Antonio Williams too. But he still gave the Patriots 1,000 yards. The reason why I'm going on that rant is because this is the perfect ideal mentor for Antonio Williams. And he's out there. And he clearly has interest in playing with the Commanders. But I can definitely see that comparison in terms of when you say the quickness that he wins in his routes. I mean, and when you go back to his tape, his routes, he leaves defenders, is what I'm going to say. Like when he is routing guys up, he's completely leaving defenders, and they're nowhere near like him. You know what I mean? So he has the elite separation. He has really good hands. He has the ability, even though, like you said, he's small in stature, but he has that ability to come down with potential crazy, effort Taylor Heineke jump balls from time to time. The thing that impressed me the most too about him as well, as you mentioned, is he's so versatile to the point where he direct snaps, end arounds. You know what I mean? He has the ability to really win one-on-one on the outside. And when you think about a 5'11" receiver, shy of 6 foot, and as you mentioned, not really big, that's the concern. And I know they're two different kind of players, totally two different kind of players, but I'm only making this comparison for the size standpoint. When you look at a Jalen Lane last year struggling, trying to create separation on the outside, that is what tends to draft these guys, drop these guys' draft stocks alongside with Antonio Williams' injury history too from last season. Is a lot of fans, I would say, have been DMing me and telling me, Juan, we need a 6'3" receiver. That's why a lot of people are so hyped about Jay and Bradley, the undrafted free agent receiver we have, because he brings the size to the room that we lack. And Grant, I'm like, when you look at the best receivers in this league now, they're the 5'11", just shy 6 foot kind of stature guys, most notably JSN, right? Who ironically is Antonio Williams' favorite receiver. And take that for what it's worth. But I was super high on this pick in this draft class solely because of Antonio Williams, because my ideal situation is he's able to be mentored by Terry McLaurin. And whether we bring in Brandon Ayuk or we bring in a Stephon Diggs, he's able to soak up as much knowledge from these guys as possible. And about 2 or 3 years, he's able to just take over and be the receiver one. That's my ideal situation that I'm hoping for him, because I think he has the potential to be really good. But as you mentioned, we're not going to put them expectations on him year one.
Yeah, I'm looking at last year's receiving leaders to find the guys who are those big Z receivers, because we're not even talking about X's like George Pickens and CD. That's kind of unique because they're both X's, so they make it work. But the top guys on that list are maybe Jameson Williams, although he can be in the slot as well. And after that, I mean, Alec Pierce, I think you're getting to. T. Higgins is kind of in that list. And I get it. It makes sense when you think, okay, the Commanders don't have somebody who's 6'3", 6'4", and physical and wins the jump balls. So, like, from that perspective, it makes sense when you say that it's missing from the offense, despite fans also being very high on Treylon Burks, which kind of confuses me because, like, okay, well, there's your Z if you're in that camp. But the thing about Antonio Williams is he's going to be playing Z. That's the thing that I think a lot of people are missing here. If they get Diggs as well, which would be, like, for me, almost football euphoria, because when you break the huddle, you don't know between Terry Williams and Diggs who's going to be X, who's going to be Z, who's going to be in the slot, because they could all do it. So, like, that would be so really cool for David Blau to have that control over just totally mismatching it and keeping defenses off balance. But when there are two receivers on the field, Terry's going to be one of them, and Antonio Williams is going to be other, and he's going to be productive because he was in college. When he was playing, when he was splitting time, basically 50-50 slot and Z, that's what it took for people to say this is going to be the number one receiver in his draft. And again, it goes to injuries and bad quarterback playing. Clemson sucks, so he drops in the draft, but it was never about his ability to win on the outside. I think there are some people who think that you just have to be that big physical guy to put up big numbers. But to your point, the best receivers in the NFL, they're not like that. I mean, JSN was more slot than he was outside. Still played outside, but mostly slot. I looked these numbers up the other day. Puka was in the slot on 36% of plays. Jamar was in the slot on 35% of plays. That's about where Justin Jefferson is. So, like, the modern NFL is not be physical and win on the outside. Like, you don't have to be Anquan Bolden, who's just swole as hell, walking around ready to muscle off anybody. It's not what the modern game is like. It's about who gets open, and Antonio Williams gets open.
That is spot on. I definitely feel like for me, and I made this bold prediction about Antonio Williams. I said I give it about 2 years, and it wouldn't surprise me if he's the number one selling jersey out of this class. Like, you know, because that's the potential that I think he can reach. I mean, outside of Mark Rippon ruining that draft pick for me with his spell that he
that was so bad, dude.
He like, took 30 minutes.
A legend, obviously,
of course,
but my goodness.
Bro, I'm like, outside of, because he took 20 minutes to say, and then he said, well, with this pick, the Washington Commanders don't go with all defense this time. Instead, they go. I'm like, bro, just say it. You already spent 10 minutes, which congratulations to flag football being, introduced into high schools. I mean, I love the speech, but it's like, dude, when you don't have that many draft picks, come on. But when we drafted him, and I'm not gonna say I was fine with any receiver, but there were so many options at that time that I just wanted one, you know what I mean? Because I felt like regardless, even if we went out and we eventually acquired Ayuk, I still felt like it was not much that was there outside of Terry McLaurin that was proven. Of course, Grant, we have our fair share of guys on this roster that we like and we speak highly of, and we're hoping, hey, if he just gets the opportunities, he can turn into something. Like, I'm a big Luke McCaffrey fan. I genuinely think Luke McCaffrey is overhated by this fan base because I think it's because his last name, and they feel like because he's a McCaffrey, he's supposed to be this good. But I'm like, I don't know about you, Grant, but I'm fine with keeping him at kick return. He does the job. Is he flashy? Is he going to take it back to the crib? Probably not, but he gets the job done. I'm fine with him being a kick returner here, and he has that role, kind of carved out for him, at least at this point. I think he gets open. He makes, to me, anytime the ball's thrown Luke McCaffrey's way, he doesn't drop the ball. Maybe I'm tripping, but I rarely see him have any drops, if any at all. And I felt like he was just turning a corner, before he broke his collarbone. But what I'm saying is we have our fair share of guys that like people like Treylon Burks. I'm hoping he could turn out to be something, right? But we just don't know that to be the case. And we can't go into this season with it being Terry McLaurin and question marks. That's why this pick right here was so important because, I mean, let's just call it what it is. I know we don't want to hold him to high expectations right off the rip, but he's going to be thrusted in there very early, and he's going to be expected to produce because, again, outside of Terry at this moment, who do we really have to rely on?
Yeah, so while I'm not holding him to the Amon-Ra expectations, unfortunately, just because of the situation that he found himself in, and I said this before we even knew who the pick was going to be. I said, whoever the Commanders draft in the third round, sorry, you're getting unfair expectations. You're going to have to produce because of where the team is and the fact they didn't have draft capital. I said they were going to draft Carnell Tate or a third-round receiver, but like they were leaving one of the first 2 picks with a receiver. And obviously Carnell Tate went 4th. I knew they weren't going to draft Jordan Tyson, not because I had information, but just Adam Peters is like he cares about like leadership and health status and availability and things like that. I'm not saying Jordan Tyson isn't a leader, but like you have to check all of those boxes. And he had a really big injury history. So when Tate was gone, I was like, all right, they're drafting a receiver in the 3rd round. My thing was I really liked some of the guys that went after him. I really liked Ted Hurst. That was actually my pick for the Commanders. Ted Hurst. Really like Chris Brazzell, people like Jacoby Lane, people like Zach Branch. But those guys were my picks because in no world did I think Antonio Williams was going to be there. I can't tell you how many draft videos that I did and that we all did because we had nothing else to talk about. I talked about 3rd-round receivers at probably at least 15 to 20 different times. And I never once said Antonio Williams' name. Not one time. Because I was sure he was going to be gone in the 2nd round or earlier. So it wasn't what I was expecting, but I'm extremely happy with the pick. And one final thing, which is like still on receivers, but talking about Luke McCaffrey, definitely the most overhated player by the fan base. Like Luke has not done anything wrong. Cliff didn't give him opportunities. And here's a fun fact for the Luke deniers out there. And I don't think Luke is amazing. Like he's not proven anything, but I think he deserves chances. Last year, Luke McCaffrey, all NFL players, all receivers, he ranked 35th in yards per route. So when he got the chance to run routes, he produced 35th in the NFL, which means he was like the worst starter in the NFL, if you want to look at it that way. His number was exactly the same as Devontae Smith. And the person ahead of him, 1 spot ahead of him, was A.J. Brown. So that's who we're talking. 1 spot ahead of that was Chris Olave. Like, just give Luke a chance, man, before you hate on him. Maybe he does suck. But let's see it. Because when they throw him the ball, he has produced. So let's give him a chance.
And they think I gave him the nickname Lukey Pookie for no reason. Hey, everybody wants to call me crazy for that, but
we gotta cancel. I'm sorry, we gotta cancel that nickname. Look, we were doing good. We were supporting Luke, and then we get to the nickname. We gotta cut that. We gotta end it right there. We'll go to the drawing board. All right, I got some sticky notes in the pen right here. I'll come up with something. I'll send it to you.
So after 2 years of everybody calling them that now, not everybody, I'm not gonna say everybody like every community, because it's a running joke, of course, but people are starting to catch on to that now. Grant is making me change his name. All right, okay, all right, it's okay. I get it. But all right, now moving on to the man of the hour, as we're slowly creeping. Make sure you guys like the channel if you aren't already subscribed to Grant Full Command. If you're not subscribed to me, my name is Juan Gotti Talkin Sports. I appreciate you, Grant, for stopping by tonight. Just recapping a little bit of Minicamp, as that was the first action of our rookie class, and we've already, I'm not gonna say we're sold, but I'll just say this for myself. I have a good feeling about this whole draft class. Like, I feel like this is gonna, out of Adam Peters' first 3 draft class, I have a good feeling that this is going to be the most complete one, because when you look at the 24 class, outside of Jayden, and for me personally, Mikey as well, there's still question marks, right? What is Luke McCaffrey? What is Brandon Coleman? What is Jordan McGee? You know what I mean? From the 24 class, and you can continue to go on the list if you want. In the 25 class, people even question Josh Connolly, right? But people are going to question Jalen Lane. Why did we take him in the 4th round, right? I mean, 24, I didn't even mention Ben Stennon and Johnny Newton as question marks. You know what I mean? So yeah. I genuinely think this class has the potential to be the best out of the first 3 classes of Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. So that's why I'm so high on it to begin with. But this guy right here, I think, has a massive reason why I am, and I'm sure I'll speak for you, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. You're also high on this draft class as well. One and only Mr. 52 now.
All right,
Sonny
all right.
Styles.
I was hoping this is where we were going. All right, we're on the same page. We're good.
Oh, what do you think I was? You thought I was going to bring up Matt Goulden or K.
I was worried we were going down a fat man route, and there's nothing wrong with fat man. All right, but like I was just worried he was going to be the crown jewel of the class. I was like, let's keep it on Sonny, and we got there, so we're good.
Well, I'll tell you this then. The crown jewel of the class for me, we already talked about it. It's Antonio Woods. For me personally, he's my favorite pick. But speaking of nickname, I don't like the nickname Fat Man. I don't. I'd rather call him Tron. I'd rather call him something. We can't call him Fat Man. It just it doesn't. I don't like it. And then I like the pick. I think he's gonna be really good. But boy, does he look slow in minicamp. I'm not gonna lie. I know his role. He isn't no Bill. He isn't expected to be moving fast. I know his role. He's a Chris Rodriguez replacement. He's a short yardage back, and he's tough. He's a really good. Don't take this into me not liking the pick, because I really like the pick, and I think he's going to carve out a role relatively early for himself. You know what I mean? I like it, but boy, I'm not gonna lie. I might be faster than him now. I'm pushing it, but
yeah, I don't like the nickname Fat Man either. He said that he wants to be called it, so I'm going to call him by that. But Dan Quinn, like one of the first questions he got on day one of rookie minicamp was about that nickname. He said, "Hopefully, I never have to call him that." So, and then of course, he Fat Man has his interview like a couple hours later. It's like, yeah, I prefer to be called Fat Man. So we'll see what the team calls him. Whatever the team decides to call him, that's what I'm gonna call him. I don't really want to call my running back Fat Man either, but hey, his mama calls him that. So if she does, then I guess I can call him that too. Yeah, he's slow. He just is at the end of the day. Like, go watch his Penn State highlights, and he's slow. But this is what I'll say to that. He was slow, and he became the all-time leading rusher at Penn State. Mm-hmm. Going back to him splitting backfield carries, that's another thing. He's used to splitting carries in the backfield. Obviously, he's going to be working with Bill. He worked in tandem with Nick Singleton at Penn State. Nick Singleton comes into Penn State, James Franklin's recruiting class. Penn State obviously never won a natty, but like they always had one of the best recruiting classes. James Franklin does a great job. He's great building connections and stuff like that. And Nick Singleton comes in as a 5-star running back. He's highly touted. Like, this is the guy who's going to take over, coming off of Saquon being there recently. We know what the prestige of being a Penn State running back. And Katron Allen comes in from the 757 as a 3-star recruit. And I mean, if you're a 3-star recruit, like, congratulations, you're going to play Division I football. Nothing wrong with that, but it's not a 5-star. I mean, there are only 20 or 35 stars in the entire country at every position, not like total. You might get one at this position, one at this position. So they go to Penn State, and Nick Singleton is the guy early in their career. Like, if they're splitting carries, he's the one getting 60 or 70% of it. But in the back half of 24, and then really in 25, it was Fat Man or Katron, Tron, whatever we're calling him. He was the guy. He was the alpha in that committee. And Nick Singleton got drafted in the 5th round ahead of him, again, because he is the better raw athlete. But when we talk about when they had the football in their hand, and they were tucking it down here, who was running the ball better? The answer was Katron Allen. And so I saw one of these fantasy football pages comment on the video that the Commanders put out, and they said, like, Katron looks slow. Seeing this video makes me even more confident in Bill. And I responded, and I said, if you watch Derrick Henry go through training camp, like, I mean, you might not be amazed, maybe because he's an outlier. But my point is, like, these bruising style of backs, they're not great t-shirt and shorts players, because they're there to, like, have contact balance and run through arm tackles and things like that. And you don't see that because they're not tackling. Nobody has any pads on. So, of course, the faster, flashier, jump cutting backs, they're going to look a lot better. So we're really not going to have an evaluation on Fat Man probably until the preseason, like separating what he did from college, talk about what he's going to do in the NFL. That's what it's going to take. He's going to need to put pads on, and then we'll see what he actually has. And I do believe that he has very good footwork in the hole. I do believe he has very good instincts. I do believe he has very good contact balance. So for that reason, I do think he's going to be running the football this year. I had John from Ballin and Burgundy on my channel last week, and we were answering one question for every position on the roster. And my question for him is, who finishes the year with more carries? Not more touches, but more carries. Fat Man or Rachaad White? And my answer was Fat Man. I do think he has a role in this offense.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, look, I personally probably, I would say, over-exaggerated in a sense, but I called Bill and Fat Man Sonic and Knuckles light, just for the simple fact, not telling you Bill will ever be half of what Jahmyr Gibbs is, because most likely not. Not telling you Fat Man will ever be half of what David Montgomery is. But I'm talking about it from the perspective of the way that David Blau seems to be constructing this offense. You even look at Ethan Kaliakmanis. That isn't a Jaden Daniels type of quarterback, Marcus Mariota type of quarterback. They don't play anything alike. But why did we draft him? Because he fits David Blau's offense, the under center, the more pro-style offense, play action, things like that. That's what Ethan Kaliakmanis is. But in a Detroit style offense, as we want to try to draw this inference because he has a connection with Detroit and Ben Johnson, and we've seen how they ran the ball really well last year with Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift. That's why you went out and you got a Katron Allen. Because I personally feel like, Grant, they loved Chris Rodriguez, especially down the stretch. And I really think they wanted Chris Rodriguez back. But what I think they ultimately did was play him too much down the stretch where he actually got off and other teams start to see what he was capable of doing. The reason why he probably got a 2-year deal from Jacksonville. Had we kept him in the tuck, had he not played as much, he probably would have been back. Because you got to think about it. Chris Rodriguez is a guy that we had here for years now, from cutting him, getting him on the practice squad to actually give him opportunities to play. Chris Rodriguez was really good, and I was a big fan of him. This is that replacement. You know what I mean? But with much more upside and clearly a higher ceiling when you talk about the production that he had at Penn State. I mean, just talk about the names that he overtook. Evan Royster, a Redskin player that I grew up on, right? Saquon Barkley, obviously, so he comes with really, really high potential, but we ain't going to sit up here and act like Fat Man's a great nickname. Even Coach doesn't want to call him that. So maybe we'll figure out something later. But to close out the show, we're going to talk about the man of the hour, the one and only Sonny Styles, number 52, which I am elated that he got number 52. I really wanted to see him in 55 or 56. I know Cam Madrano got 56, but I feel like 56 would have fit him better than this. 55 even, you know what I mean? Because for whatever reason, people are trying to draw comparisons to Jamin Davis just because they see the 52, the Keenan Robinsons and things like that. And last year, my man Preston Smith. So Grant, to be fair, it is some stench on that jersey number, I will say. But you can't sit up here and tell me these guys are anything like the same. And last thing I'll say about the jersey number before I let you give your thoughts on Sonny Styles and what you see, like, I was so happy he went with the 50s. I did not want him in 6. 6 just did not hit for me. I don't know if it's just our jersey numbers or whatever, but I didn't even like him in 6 at Ohio State. And when he came out and talked about his jersey number, the only single-digit number that he mentioned was 0. So if Mikey wasn't here, that was the only, it's at least from what I gather, the only single-digit number he was interested in grabbing, which I would have been fine with. But other than that, I'm glad he went in the 50s. Now, Grant, talk to me about what you've seen from our guy, Sonny Styles, in rookie minicamp debut. Because, I mean, I was elated from what I've seen. But I'll let you take it over.
Well, okay, so I gotta start by talking about the jersey number. The 6, it didn't really fit him, but he picked 6 when he was a safety, so I understand it. And then 0, which he had a senior at Ohio State, he didn't really choose that. They gave him the block O, which is famous to Ohio State. It's given to the person who represents the standards of the program the best. And you got to keep in mind, he won the block O over Caleb Downs, over Arvell Reese. And shout out to Josh Taylor, who brought this up when he was on my channel the other day at Covering the Commanders. Josh does a great job. Definitely check him out if you don't. But he pointed out something that I'd read, but I had failed to say on YouTube yet, which was, I think Albert Breer reported this, but 10 defensive prospects, it might have just been the other 10 starters on Ohio State's defense, were asked who they would bring with them. If they could bring one Ohio State teammate with them to the NFL, who would they choose? And they all chose Sonny Styles. All of them. Arvell Reese chose Sonny Styles. Caleb Downs chose Sonny Styles. Caden McDonald chose Sonny Styles. Run up and down the list. So that says a lot about him. I really like the 52 choice. And it's funny that we get into like the psychology of numbers, because does a number really change how you're going to play on the field? Probably not. But they say look good, feel good, play good, So a 52 has some sort of toughness and tenacity and ferocity to it. You think of Ray Lewis, you think of Patrick Willis. So if Sonny brings that to the field and he has that element to his game, and I know that he's the most athletic linebacker that has ever gone to the NFL Combine, then this is going to be a pretty damn good player. Now, talking about what we saw from him at training camp, he's obviously going to stand above the rest because when he was at t-shirt and shorts at the Combine, he was the best to ever do it. Literally nobody had ever tested better than him. So when he's in a t-shirt and shorts out there with guys who are, 7th round draft picks, UDFAs, tryout guys, he's going to look a lot better than they are. So we're not really learning anything about him right now. Dan Quinn even said it in his press conference. He said, this is really more about looking at some of the other guys who are going to be competing for roster spots than it is really evaluating like starters and things like that. But my biggest takeaway, I'll give you one of them. It was this clip that we actually just watched right at the end there. It's where Sonny is. The coach? He's extending his arm and then he gets out of there. He's going probably 60 or 70%, but his acceleration almost looks full speed. It's like, and I'm a former track runner. That's what I did. I ran in high school and I ran in college. So like, I wasn't the fastest guy, but I know what that looks like. I know what that twitch hitting that gear looks like. And while his top speed, he really was not trying to run fast at all. There's some things you just can't turn off. And that acceleration, when you saw it, you can't turn that off. Right here, this burst that he has, changing gears, and this isn't even the best angle of it, but like, man, when they get to actually flying around and the bullets are going full speed, he's going to look pretty different compared to what you see from most linebackers.
Well, Grant, before I even give my 2 cents, Brock has been wanting to do a background check on you all night long. I didn't see him comment. Shout out to my guy, Brock. I didn't see him comment, hey, Grant, where are you from 50 times? Now that you told him you run track, he's like, well, high school. I don't know what he's trying to do. Maybe he's trying to be one of your closest buddies or something like that. But he wants to know a lot about you, man.
I went to Battlefield out in Haymarket, Brock. I don't live there anymore, so you can't dox me. But I'm from Northern Virginia. I live in Northern Virginia currently. That's where we're gonna roll it. But I went to Battlefield.
Hey, Grant, just keep
And shout out to Brock. My bad.
Yeah, shout out to Brock. Brock, we're obviously joking, but hey, Grant, just if you gotta sleep with one eye open, man, just be careful. Nah, Brock, I'm just messing with you. But see, we were talking about the same play, Grant. But you were talking about the acceleration after. I was talking about him almost annihilating that coach right there, man. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. Shout out to whoever that coach was because, Grant, you probably say he was going 60%. Maybe. I'm gonna give you that because I feel like if he was going 100%, he probably would have completely cleaned out this coach. But shout out to that coach right there for staying on his feet because that right there just showed you in one play exactly why we drafted him. The powerness, and as you mentioned, the acceleration, the quickness. This dude is going to be able to do so much for us. It is going to be insane. I was with you, Grant. I was a big Carnell Tate guy or a receiver in general guy. I was a big Mekhi Lemon guy. But I was a big receiver guy. I didn't think Sonny Styles would even be at 7. But once we got him, I just completely did a 180. Like, this dude is about to transcend this defense for the next, hopefully, decade. Like, everyone wants to talk about Fred Warner and how Adam Peters got his version of Fred Warner. If he's half of that, like, I am completely excited, Grant. We come from the times of me specifically, Mason Foster, you know what I mean? Purry Riley and Kevin Pierre-Louis and John Bostic and having these guys that can't move around. Now you're telling me my whole linebacking core from starters to even down to Jordan McGee and Kane Madrano, they can move. I genuinely think he is about to not only unleash himself, but specifically, I think he's about to bring 2024 Oos back out. I think Oos is about to have an amazing year, and that 2024 Demon is going to be back out in 2026.
So there's a lot to talk about right there. With Sonny Styles, before the draft, we talked about, or not like you and I, but like everybody would talk about the debate of who's the best for your team versus the best player available. Sonny Styles was clearly the best player available at number 7. out of every single player in the draft, I think he was also the best fit for their offense or defense. And ironically, I think Antonio Williams is actually in that conversation as well. And they ended up drafting him, of course. But Durante Jones, and really, let's go back to the Vikings, because while we have expectations and we have thoughts, we haven't seen the Commanders' defense with Durante Jones. The Vikings, what they did is they ran the third most defensive plays in base last year, meaning 3-4, 4-3. That's your base alignment. For them, it was 3-4. That's what the Commanders are going to be. Teams have been going heavy nickel. That's why Jalen Petrie. That's why Nicky Manwari. That's why Brian Branch. Like, these guys who can play nickel for you and do a really good job of it. That's why they're so valuable. As the league moved in that direction, the Vikings said, no, we're not following you just because everyone's doing it. We're going to stay in base. And when we talk about how the Vikings were so good, I mean, Brian Flores, for me, gets the majority of the credit. But when we're talking about players, it was their linebackers. I mean, their linebackers could do so much, and the Commanders have been built in that image. Guys who can blitz, guys who can cover, guys who can sim pressure. Some of them can mug up. They can get sideline to sideline and make tackles. And like the Van Ginkel example, sniff out a screen better than anybody in the NFL. So Sonny Styles, while they were already in a good position before they drafted him, he he can do everything. He can run sideline to sideline. He has size. He can lay the wood at the line. He can take on guards. He can make tackles. He can cover. He can line up in man coverage because he was a safety. Like, he was literally the perfect player for the defense. The only thing you can talk about is he's making a lot of money for a linebacker, but I don't care, because by the end of year one, he's probably going to be wearing the green dot, and he will probably be one of the best players on the defense. That's high expectations. Like I was saying, let's pump the brakes on Antonio Williams. I'm not pumping the brakes on Sonny Styles, because when you're the seventh pick in the draft, you have expectations. When you're the most athletic player at your position in the history of football, you have expectations. And when you are as good as he is and getting better, Sonny Styles, year two a linebacker to year one at linebacker, was a much better player. Sonny Styles, college football playoff year two to week one year two, was a much better player. He has that defensive player of the year level ceiling. Is he going to get there? We got to see, because development, in my opinion, has been a problem for these players, but he can get to that. And I'll give my Frankie Louvu thoughts in a moment, but I yapped a lot, so I'll let you respond.
No, you're good. I mean, you said exactly what I was thinking, and I've been saying all since we drafted Sonny Styles, right? I said it from day one. I said, look, I love the pick. I think he's going to come in and immediately take this defense to the next level, or at least be a big reason why this defense can take the next level. But I said the same thing you just said, Grant. I said, look, his expectations for him it's immense for me. Like, and yes, it has a lot to do with him being a linebacker, but it also has a lot with him to being drafted number 7, or with us drafting him number 7. I mean, look, if we would have took a receiver at 7, I still would have the same kind of expectations. But at the same time, and this kind of is the casual part of my mind speaking, a receiver is going to impact the game, right? Like, he's going to score the ball. He's going to put up points. He's going to put up 1,000 yards, potentially, things like that. And you're going to actually see it from a casual brain standpoint. But of course, now switching back to my, I guess, there you say, content creator mindset, or whatever you want to have. I understand the Sonny Styles pick at 7 because of the things that we've talked about tonight, with his ability to do so much for this defense that, I mean, like you said, lack of better words, casual is the name we're using, but you don't have to be called that. But a person that was like me, oh, we got to go receiver, or we got to do this, probably wouldn't understand the draft pick of a Sonny Styles. But I love it. I really think he's going to be absolutely amazing. You talk about the money that he's making. I mean, look, at the mindset that I have for this kid, this is going to be chump change, considering the fact that what his next contract is going to be. You know what I mean? I'm already thinking about that aspect of things. So we got to talk about Sonny Styles. Me personally, Grant, I'm kind of a little bit different. Like, I feel like they may just throw him out there with the green dot day one. I really do feel that way. I'm not going to lie.
I think they will too. I think you've got a competition between Sonny Styles, Leo Chanel, and that's going to be a big step for him because he was always a rotational player in Kansas City. I recognize it would be a step for him. And then Nick Cross, I think, is another guy who's in the competition there. But those are the guys, to me, who are secure at their positions. I mean, Trey Amos is secure at his, but a corner is not wearing the green dot. There's a couple of other guys. But back during the offseason, when they're before the draft, before free agency, Dan Quinn was saying, yeah, it could be Frankie Louvu or Quan Martin is the green dot. I was like, oh, those are not the options I want to hear. So I do think it's going to be one of these newcomers. And Sonny was the green dot last year, and people will say, oh, it's college. It was college with a defense that was running an NFL-style defense because they had NFL talent. I mean, they had Sonny and Caden and Arvell and Downs. And Matt Patricia was their defensive coordinator. So, yes, it's an NFL defense, but he was already wearing the green dot in that system, and not the same system, but like that level of complexity when he was in college last year. So that's what I think about it. I'm with you. I think he'll be the green dot probably week 1. They'll have a couple guys wear it during camp, and then they'll pick. But going back to Frankie Louvu now, who I said that we were going to get to, we've said Andrew Van Ginkel's name before, and I think the best case for Louvu is he's deployed as an Andrew Van Ginkel. Now, I don't think he's as good of a pass rusher, but he did have, I think, 8 sacks in his all-pro season. I'm also not sure he's as good in coverage, so you're hoping for like a Andrew Van Ginkel light. But I also don't want to disrespect Frankie Louvu because he had a really bad last year. He had a really good year in 24. I mean, the guy was an all-pro. So he's shown you that he can perform at that level. Durante Jones has spoken about getting him moving downhill, moving forward instead of laterally or backwards, which is how you get him to his best. And again, going back to the diversity of the defense, when everybody on your defense basically can rush the passer, well, that makes it a lot easier for Frankie Louvu. The reason his sack numbers fell off a cliff last year is he was identified as the pass rushing threat in the Commanders defense. Back in 24, he was getting free rushes to the quarterback, or he was the running back was picking him up in pass protection. Year 2, all of a sudden it's the tackle now who's responsible for him. And it's a lot tougher to beat an offensive tackle than it is a running back. So in this style of defense, he's going to go back to being that pass protection pickup, like that blitz pickup guy where he's lined up with tight ends, he's lined up with running backs, and he showed you in 24 that he can beat those guys. So if he can play well in coverage, like at all, just hold up for 2 to 2.5 seconds on a play, then he could be in for a really good year. But it is up to him at the end of the day.
And to your point, we'll close out the show shortly. But to your point, I'm going to just finish saying what you were saying about the 2014. He also had a 10.5 sack Dante Fowler out there as well. He also had a Dorrance Armstrong that was pretty well as getting after the quarterback in 2024. 2025, as you mentioned, they not only were using him a lot as the primary pass rusher because they were kind of forced to in a sense because there was nobody else. I mean, Von Miller, he ends up giving us 7.5, 8 sacks. He was cool, right?
9, yeah.
9 sacks, right? I mean, Preston Smith, Jacob Malik, he didn't have anybody else on that defense on that front 7 at that moment, especially when it comes to pass rushers or linebackers that really gave you any kind of threat. So it was easy to key in on Frankie Louvu. And I also feel like, as we all know, Joe Whitt Jr. didn't put this defense in the best possible situation to succeed. But I also feel like part of me, seeing how successful he was in 24, they put more on his plate in 25 and expected him to take that next leap, which he ultimately didn't. And I think he's going to get back to being that 24 version because he's going to be able to play free. I don't want Frankie Louvu out there with having to line up everybody and put everybody in positions or have this specific assignment. I want my Frankie Louvu free and literally see ball, get ball. Just go downhill and just be a rusher and just be an absolute menace. And I think with the talent surrounding him, pass rushers, linebackers, even the interior guys will bring it back to himself, Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, and hopefully Johnny Newton, takes the next step. I think you're going to see a Frankie Louvu that's going to turn back the clock and just be who he was at 24.
And this is one final thing that I'll say, and this ties into that, but the coverage on the back end heavily depends on them generating pressure. Like what the Vikings did, it was actually, there were several things they did. There were 2 big concepts. Is they played quarters on the back, or not quarters, sorry, palms, which is a type of quarters. It allows them to jump routes and things like that. So more aggressive for the DBs. But they played palms on the back end, and then they would blitz on the front end. So essentially you would end up with cover 4. So if it's like Madden, these are your blue circles, the guys defending deep. So corners and safeties. They each cover 1/4 of the deep parts of the field. So 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 2 underneath defenders. So these are guys like where your linebackers traditionally line up, about 10 to 12 yards off the ball, and they cover whatever comes in front of them. And then they would blitz 5 in front of that. So they would obviously blitz 5 trying to generate pressure. And if they didn't get to the quarterback, the ball had to come out quickly for the quarterback before they ended up getting there. So it protected the back end because that ball was coming out quicker. The routes were more fast developing. And sometimes the offense had to keep in extra blockers because if you're blitzing 5, well, you don't want your entire offensive line going to one-on-one because that can be tricky, especially if you get to twist and stunts like that. So a lot of the times they would keep a running back in. So now you have 6 blockers to pick up their 5 rushers, but between your 6 blockers and your quarterback, that's 7. So you have 4 receivers running into 5 defenders. So you still have a numbers advantage on the back end of that. I know I'm talking with a lot of numbers here, but hopefully that's making sense. So that's one thing they did. And then the other thing they did was they would use match coverage. And essentially, whoever was lined up with the number 3, which a lot of the time is the tight end or the running back, whoever had that assignment, they would just blitz them and say like, okay, you can send that guy on a route if you want to, but you're leaving our blitzer completely unblocked, or you can keep him in the block, but then we've won the play because you have one less option and we still have the numbers advantage. So yes, like the defensive line, you would think has nothing to do with how the corners play, but they work in concert with each other. And you've heard, Joe Witt Jr. even used to say this, the pressure or the rush is the coverage. And it didn't work out for him, but it's kind of got to work out for Durante Jones or else this defense doesn't collapse.
Yeah, exactly. You hit it right on the head. And trust me, when you speak numbers, I'm all ears because I love hearing about the analytical part of it and all the numbers because that's truly what this game is made up of. But Grant, I appreciate you for coming on to the channel tonight, taking an hour out your night to talk about this team that we love. So any final last words you got for the people out there before we let you go?
Nah, man. I really appreciate you having me on. If I wasn't here, I was going to be somewhere talking about the Commanders. I'm all in on the content grind. I'm really enjoying it. And I really appreciate getting to talk to you. We had talked with Tone obviously before, but it's good to chop it up one-on-one. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate all of the Juan Gotti fans and the stands out there. Hopefully I didn't annoy you too much. If you enjoyed, feel free to check me out at Full Command. And if you hate me, then that's fine. You can go back to Juan. I won't bug him anymore.
I appreciate you. And again, now I have to return the favor because you also streamed on your channel as well. So thank you for doing that. And if you guys is this your first time seeing me? My name is Juan Gotti Talkin Sports. I do the same thing over here. We talk about the Washington Commanders. So make sure you guys show us both some love. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the post notification. It's free. Grant, in the world where everything costs money, this is one of the few things left on earth that is free. So please hit the subscribe button for both of us, especially my guy, Grant, Full Command. Run his numbers up because he is doing great things over there. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. I'll catch y'all next time, and hopefully we can do this again very soon.
Yes, sir.
All right. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you all later. I'm out. Peace.